without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the 6 plays, because a lot of the questions that have been coming through have been directly around some of the plays. So hopefully we nailed down the right ones. So let's go ahead and get started. Target account plays. David, do you want to go ahead and get us started?
Yeah, I feel like between myself, Faith, Matthew, and Tracy, we just like totally stole this slide's thunder in a good way, because this is like such a cool play. I mean, being able to literally, deliver a white glove experience to target accounts based upon whatever the criteria you want to set, right? That's capable in the integration is, I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, but as a seller, like that's time is money. And if I can just kind of, know that always on situation where if an account that I care about is on our site, it's either being taken care of through personalization, that when I'm asleep or when I'm off, I'm a PTO, whatever. But then if I'm available and I see that notification, I'm going to hop right in and I'm going to talk to that prospect and I'm going to be on that chat. So really, I mean, this allows us as sellers to book more meetings, right? Get in the conversation with more prospects at accounts we're already speaking to, right? Multi-threading within those accounts, bringing in more people into that buying team. And the power of this just can't be understated. So again, I feel like we talked about this a little bit maybe not ad nauseum, because I don't think I ever get nauseous about talking about getting target accounts into the funnel. But this is such a cool play, and as a BDR SDR leader, this is the one that you get excited about, because it's the one that's increases your conversion rate so much better and makes you look really good. So it's one of the reasons why I love it.
I'm not even in sales, but I love this one too, just because we all are doing things, right? And you're not always at your computer. So I think the power of just being able to be notified, whether that's on your mobile, whether it's desktop, in browser, Slack, however you want it, to be able to engage and then continue focusing your team, David, on what they're doing. If it's instead of sort of all the noise that we get anyway. So helping us focus on where to prioritize. So one of the other ones, and I guess what I'll say we didn't kind of kick off here, is there's a lot of different use cases of Drift and 6 Sense together. So we're just sharing about 6 of them today. And by no means do we say do all 6 right away. I mean, great if you do. I think that'd be very powerful. And we definitely, all of us here, use all 6 of these, but you can always get started with a handful of them and then continue progressing. So just wanted to throw that out there in case everyone's a little overwhelmed, since the poll, I know not everybody is using 6 Sense and Drift together yet today. So we talked about, David just talked about if you're on account targeting focus from a sales and marketing perspective, and that might fall within this as well, but you might also look at it by industry, right? You serve, you have different customer base, right? And so that might be financial services and manufacturing and, traditional tech SaaS software that we're both in, or, professional services, you name it, right? There's tons of sub verticals within those for those who are in that space. And we all know that everybody speaks differently, right? So I worked in healthcare for a number of years. We're never going to say customer, it's a patient, right? And you're not going to say buyer, it's a provider, right? Or a physician. Or everybody has a little bit different lingo. And so it's really important as we talk about personalization to be able to deliver that. And that's in the right words, right? Engaging them in the right way. And so this is one of those use cases, is being able to define different industries and verticals in your 6 Sense segments, and then bring those insights into Drift so that you can deliver that really personalized experience that's specific to how, one, you speak to them in their own language, but also how does your business help them specifically in their industry, not just a generic, hey, we help companies do XYZ. It's, hey, hi, XYZ, we help, enter financial services companies like XYZ do blah, 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 using the right words. So that was a bad example, but we have a great number of financial services customers ourselves. So this is one that we make sure to leverage, and it can be very powerful, whether you're already doing this or you're starting to expand into additional industries or verticals.
Yeah, and like thinking about this, I always think of this like peeling back the onion. Like you can keep peeling back the onion in terms of the number of different variations that you can do with this. Like you could even go as far as taking a specific industry and then creating all of the segments around that industry based on predictive in-market stage. So you could potentially have like 5 different playbooks that you're running to specific stages for that industry. So let's say you had like 4 or 5 different industries that you're looking to target. You could have up to 20 different segments and 20 different playbooks targeting each individual stage that's most relevant to them with the correct content, with the right messaging to try to push that conversation or conversion as quickly as possible. Cool. David, do you want to go ahead and take the keyword play? Actually, no, that's me. That's me. So I'll jump in. So thinking about the keyword play, we've kind of alluded to this a couple of times over the last couple of slides, but thinking about keywords, these are huge. These are great indicators of like where people are at in their buying stage or in the market. So if you haven't set up your 6th Sense keywords, I'd highly recommend it. We did a total refresh of this not too long ago, so it's near and dear to my heart because I was the one that had to comb through all of those. However, it's really helpful now because we can take a look at those specific keywords, understand which ones have the highest volume, and that's really indicating which keywords we should be personalizing with on our website. You can do different filtering logic and then use them within the playbooks as like embedded personalization tokens that you can then personalize that conversation. So for example, we have the Forrester Wave highlighted. We are actually recently named a leader within the Forrester Wave. So this is relevant to us. So thinking about how we could personalize that on the website, if somebody jumped on and we could immediately say, hey, it looks like you took a look at the most recent conversational Forrester Wave report. Would you like to learn all about our total economic impact report that we previously did with Forrester? So it's just another way to continue the conversation and be as relevant as possible. You can do this totally across the board based on keyword groups, as well as the individual branded keywords as well. But not sure if you guys have anything to add that you guys have used this for previously. David, has your team tampered with this a little bit?
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. I mean, BDR team loves these keywords. This is something that we leverage, through Drift, through really every communication tool that we have to make sure that, not only are the plays that we have in Drift loaded with the branded keywords and how we, communicate with the prospect who, for example, is talking about or interested in the Forrester Wave, or is interested in, Bombora, things like that. That changes how we communicate with prospects. And we literally have, specific playbooks that we've built based upon specific keywords that we've seen come through more often than others. So this is just a great tool, not only for the automation, but for, sellers and BDRs alike.
Awesome. Let's jump forward to our next one. This is the one that everybody seems to be talking about. David, do you want to keep going? And then I can tag in here in a minute.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is we talked a little bit about this one, right? Where, you're already, maybe talking to this prospect, and they come to your site, right? Maybe it's the person you're speaking to, maybe it's somebody who's on that buying team, maybe it's somebody who's just that company and has been, interested or heard a little bit about your company and is visiting your site. Being able to deliver a personalized experience really, at the end of the day, helps to connect yourself with that company. And frankly, at the end of the day, when I go to, stores that I, in real life that I love, I really wish they'd be like, oh, welcome back, right? So I could like feel like, yeah, I'm a regular here, right? Or oh, they know me. But in tech, on the web, that's just not reality in some cases, right? Unless you have a tool like this. And it creates a type of, warmth and a type of familiarity, and frankly, a type of, just authority. Because, in sales, if you're talking to a prospect and you know what you're talking about, you're on a discovery call, they're going to trust you more. And the same is true for marketing, right? If you have the tools and the technology that makes a prospect feel comfortable about doing business with you, they're more likely to do business with you. And so having stuff like this where, you recognize that this person's part of an account you're already speaking to, it's in an opportunity stage, and delivering content that's relevant to that stage, is powerful in more ways than one. That said, I would also say that it's important to say that it's maybe not just about situations where you have an open opportunity in your CRM for that account, but perhaps it's based on a buying stage, right? We were talking earlier about 6 cents, buying stages and being in decision and purchase. What if someone who comes to your site and engages with Drift is in the awareness stage, right? Do you want to have something different served up to them, right, than somebody who's in perhaps a research stage? This is how granular you can get with this technology and this integration, and it's one of the things that I think is really powerful for marketers to tinker with how this stuff works and watch conversion rates and how they change. That's one of my favorite things to do, is tinker with stuff on our site and with our technology. And this is one of those things that allows you to do that and see what works, what resonates, and what increases your conversion through the funnel. I don't know, Tav or really, if you got anything.
No, I think you nailed it. I think we've talked a lot about this one. It's a great one. I think just it's a good example of what we talked about earlier, of just like engaging along the journey, right? And you're not the same when you're starting off, right? But just put myself, like I evaluate different tech stack for my team, and in the first couple weeks of evaluation versus like maybe a month and a half in, when you have your narrowed down list and had maybe a couple conversations, maybe a demo or two. So I think this is super powerful. Yeah.
Well, it's like that Olympic sport, right? What is it? Curling, right? Where like you push the thing through and then you're like sweeping in front of it, right? That's kind of like what this is, right? You're trying to make sure that opportunity gets to the finish line, right? Maybe you need to like slow it down, maybe you need to speed it up, right? But that's kind of how I look at this. Sorry. Weird analogy, but
yeah. No, I love it. I always wish I could like learn that. It's like a really interesting sport to watch, but I think it takes finesse that I don't have.
Also, like another thing I wanted to dive into here is like thinking about like content mapping. This is where like content can overlap with some of your other strategies. Like we go through an exercise where we kind of look at like for each predictive in-market stage where we're the most successful. And that's what we're recommending within the chatbot. So not everybody wants to have a conversation with the chatbot, and that's totally okay. But being able to provide the relevant content resources that they need in order to be successful at each one of those stages, it could lead to that ultimate conversation and that awareness that they need to convert then at that point. However, you can totally align the conversation to be as little aggressive or as aggressive as you'd like it to be. Like if you think about like target awareness consideration, like you're probably going to want to be super light, you want to be conversational and get the ball rolling. But when when somebody's in decision and purchase, like that's somebody that's highly engaged, that's getting down the funnel, that you're probably going to want to push towards a conversion or a conversation of some sort. So you can be a little bit more bold of like, I think we have something cheeky on our website that's like, it looks like you're becoming a regular here. Does it make sense to have us a conversation? So like it's just pushing the needle a little bit further as you continue to work down that funnel. But as I had mentioned earlier, you can do this across every single industry that you target into. And there's just so many different use cases for this specific example.
Yeah, Tav, and I love it. One thing just for any marketers on the call too is like you can, and sales too, but like you can maintain your brand. So like Drift does have a little bit, right? We like to be a little out there, cheeky. And so that's part of that. But we understand that wouldn't be the way in like financial services. Maybe you're going to like talk. But it's a good, maintaining sort of that, changing the messaging to be personalized, but staying sort of on brand as they continue down their journey. The same way like your sales rep would talk to them, following your own sort of brand and that as well.
Yeah, for some reason people don't like it when you're cheeky about money and savings accounts and things. It's strange.
Wonder why. So competitive play. This is one of my favorites. Probably I'm biased because I'm in product marketing and my team oversees competitive. But we all have competitors. It's actually a good thing to have competition, right? Even that means you have a good product and there's a market there for it. If you're the only one in it, there's probably not much demand for what you're selling or a problem you're trying to solve there. And I'm also very competitive. I played soccer through college, so that gets my juices going. But what's really cool about this, and we are doing this, Tav and I actually have partnered very closely at Drift on this in particular, is leverage the value props that you have, your differentiation of how you can help that customer, that buyer, against the other vendors that they're evaluating, right? So from 6th Sense, you can understand like what other competitors have they been searching, what names and the keywords, and then use the 6th Sense segments, right? Based on those keywords to serve up the right message to that buyer based on maybe the 1, 2, 3 other vendors in your space that they're evaluating. So this is just one of, I think that's sort of as simple. I won't like overcomplicate it, but I think this is one of my favorites, just because it's important to stay true to your core with the problem you can solve for them. But if you know what they're looking for, right, you have some of that idea of their intent, personalize it for them, let them make it easier for them to understand, oh, okay, how is your business different from the others that they're looking at, and see if there's anything else you can answer for them, or perhaps, as Todd mentioned, you drop some pieces of content for them. Maybe they just want to learn on their own, and you have, a one-pager, or you have a different landing page on your site that you could point them to help them sort of self-educate as they move along their journey. The other thing I'll just add, and David, curious your point here, but like this is super powerful for sales too, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And it's great to know, like, if you're in an evaluation process, who you're going up against as well, because that's critical for the rep to be able to, personalize and really build rapport and trust with your, buyers as they go along. But this is not just something to use, on the marketing side. It's critical for sales as well.
Yeah, it's important to know who you're competing against so you can say great things about them.
You can also even take those customer lists of those competitors, upload them directly into 6th Sense, or pull them in through the Salesforce integration, and you can have custom playbooks that are designated off of that connects the whole process together, which is really helpful because you know what they're using, you're able to address it, but also being able to disarm and also propose why you may be a better solution, all within the chatbot. Cool. Well, I'll wrap it up in terms of the use cases. So this one's a little bit more advanced and something that a lot of people haven't dug into completely yet, but I've heard from a couple different customers across the board that upsell and expansion is a huge one. So when thinking about building out segmentation, it's really important that you're delivering that personalized experience both at the top of the funnel for that new people, but also for your existing customers. You can get as unique and personalized as possible if you know what plan they're using or what products that they specifically have, and they're visiting certain pages that you're able to pick up through a segment within 6th Sense about a potential upsell opportunity. This is a great way to be able to personalize that experience and provide the resources that they need to learn more about that potential upsell and expansion without being super intrusive. But also on the other end, you could connect that directly into your account manager or your CSM to start that conversation right from the get-go to make sure that they can talk about that upcoming renewal. Or you can also, and I'll dig into that a little bit more, talk about the additional costs associated with it, or what additionally that they could be doing better with some of the things that they already have. So it's really maintaining that conversation. When you're thinking about renewals, this is another thing that we got to think about. So like a lot of people set trackers for renewals that are happening in the next 6 months, 3 months. And this is a big indicator whether they're going to be green, yellow, or red. And if they're going to renew with your software or your tool or whatever it is coming into the future. So being able to flag that and make sure that you're basically saying, hey, it looks like you're about 6 months away from your renewal. Get the conversation started and have a conversation with your CSM or your renewal specialist. It's just another way that you could kind of personalize that, and you can do that through the dynamic lists that are built through 6th Sense as well. But I don't know if you guys want to talk about these use cases a little bit more. But yeah.
Yeah. I think what I'd add is I think something that's so important is thinking about, again, we've talked about this, but the buyer throughout their journey, right? And think about it as the customer throughout their entire life cycle. It's not just personalizing. We're not, Dave and I are here on sort of talking about go-to-market. And I think a lot of what we've talked about is before you've purchased. But there's two types, right? You have your existing customers are your most important asset too, right? And so how do you you want to deliver great experiences for new buyers before they buy, but then you want to continue that great experience for them after, when they're a customer of yours, whether that's right after their onboarding or 6 months in or 2 years down the line, right? And this is one example of like an upsell and expansion to, you know, show them about new capabilities that they could add to continue adopting and, you know, better make use of your product to achieve their goals. And but I think there's also just, hey, they come to your website and they want to, you know, they have some questions, they can access your knowledge base or just connect with the right person at your company, right? That's not in sales, but is their CSM or somebody else to get their question answered. So I think this just ties into that bigger piece of like personalization isn't just about the pre-sale journey. Really think about how to leverage 6 Sense and Drift together to continue engaging your customers throughout their journey in that really personalized way. And this is just one of the use cases we wanted to highlight on that like post-sale, so to speak, side of it.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. David, do you want to kick us off with personalizing the experience?
I was thinking I would do turn intent into action, but I can certainly do personalize the experience.
I'll take it.
You got it? All right.
Yeah, I'll take it. So like just to summarize everything in terms of the better together story between Drift and 6 Sense. So we're going to just go back through it. So it's all about personalizing the experience. So bringing 6 Sense account segments and buying stage predictions directly into Drift Intel and Drift audiences. You can also trigger those customized welcome messages, chat playbooks, and more. And then you can provide easy options to buy based on visitors' decision stage. But David, I'll let you turn intent into action.
Yeah, so I mean, you get the bullet points there, right? And you know, like what Tav said, leveraging those segments and making sure you're personalizing the experience is the first part of it. And then how do you act on that personalization? How do you act on the intent you're seeing, right? We talked about keywords. We talked about creating playbooks based on keywords, whether those are competitive keywords or keywords that are relevant to your products. How do you potentially act on multi-product interest, right? Multi-product ABM. Maybe it's a customer who's already has product A and maybe they're interested in product B. Maybe they're not really interested in product B, but you can see there's some type of intent there that would signal that perhaps they need that product, right? How do you then take that intent and how do you put that into action? Well, you know, at the end of the day, it's about the configuration in terms of how you set your AI to respond to these prospects as they land on your site when you're not around. And then how do you potentially make sure that you're routing those to the right sellers and BDRs when they're around and when it's time for them to hop into a chat. So, you know, at the end of the day, you want to recognize your top accounts. You want to recognize the accounts that are showing interest as customers, and you want to recognize accounts that are in certain buying stages. Those are really the 3 key things that are relevant to turning that intent into actual action. Aurelia?
Yep. And then last but not least is accelerating deal cycles. We talked a lot about this, so right, but it's a lot of what David shared of his own real life experience with his team. But when you know those accounts, right, are on the website, engaging them in the right way, notifying your rep to be able to start a conversation in real time if that's the right thing, letting them book a meeting or maybe following up, you know, via sales offer outreach, as we were talking about in the chat here, all which you can do, you know, inside of Drift using that. So I think what we wanted to do here is tie it up with, you know, if there's 3 things you take away from today's webinar, we did a lot, and don't worry, we will, as Tom said, we're going to share everything with you guys. And I think there was some great conversation in the chat around additional examples of like conversation builds that we've done for some of these plays. So I think Tav and I can certainly take that as a follow-up there. But the 3 things about Drift and 6 Sense together is really combining, you know, intent and insights into action so that you can personalize those experiences and accelerate your deal cycles. So that is, I guess, our CTA is chat with us and, you know, get in touch if we're all here. You guys have probably your own DRIs or, you know, CSMs or account managers or anyone, but the 3 of us are also always happy to chat and connect with any of you, LinkedIn, email, whatever it is. We love to chat.